The Department of Justice is impeding an active criminal investigation into Epstein's Zorro Ranch. This comes from New Mexico's own Attorney General in a public letter, a letter he sent to Todd, Blanche, and the Department of Justice, saying that they are causing irreparable harm to his criminal investigation and that the unreasonable delay to hand over requested unredacted material is unreasonable by any rule. My name is Dina Doll with the MeidasTouch Network. Let's get into this. Now, as we know, there's several ongoing investigations happening right now in New Mexico in connection to the Zorro Ranch. We know there's the Truth Commission that was set up by the legislature that is ongoing and issuing subpoenas. And then we have the Attorney General's own criminal investigation. Make no mistake, this is not some sort of civil investigation or, trying to get to the bottom of things. This is an active criminal investigation. And for the fact that the Attorney General of a state is calling out the Department of Justice for interfering in this is where we're at, folks. He said in this letter that he has already sent a letter to the Department of Justice 5 different times, and then also iterates the phone calls, the actual in-person conversations they are having, trying to get this information. And of course, every time being told that they plan on cooperating, they plan on having this material come forth. I mean, we've heard this before, right? And then it never comes. It has been 130 days after the first request, the Attorney General says, and this delay is causing harm to an investigation. As we know, so much time has already passed. Zorro Ranch is in a new owner. That ranch was searched by this Attorney General criminal investigation back in March. They're trying to basically restart a criminal investigation that was ended in 2019 under Trump's own DOJ. Now, New Mexico had their own ongoing investigation in parallel to what was happening at the federal level with Epstein, but they took over that investigation. The feds took over the New Mexico investigation, asked them to hand over everything. They handed over everything, and then nothing came of it. And the Attorney General reiterates all of this in the letter. And so basically now they're trying to finish the job that they started and were basically shut down by the Department of Justice under Trump back in 2019. And now the Department of Justice under Trump is making it so difficult for them to investigate because they're refusing to hand over the unredacted material that the New Mexico Attorney General says is necessary, is required for him to conduct a criminal investigation. He's like, we need these. Every bit of this delay makes it much harder for us to get the evidence, from witnesses. And the Department of Justice is holding out basically the information that they have in their possession. They're not asking for them to go out and do new investigations. They are asking for them to hand over what they have. So the New Mexico Department of Justice says, quote, they have an urgent need for this information, and it is a direct result of the actions by the United States Department of Justice because in 2019, New Mexico opened an investigation into criminal conduct at Zorro Ranch, gathering witness accounts, generating investigative reports, and engaging in regular coordination with federal prosecutors. That investigation was halted at the express request of the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York, which sought to consolidate New Mexico's investigative materials into its federal prosecution of Epstein's co-conspirators. In good faith, the New Mexico Department of Justice complied. This is what the Attorney General writes in the letter to Todd, Blanche, and Department of Justice and makes public. And it says, though, that on September 17th, 2019, then Chief Deputy Attorney General transmitted to New York the entirety of their investigative file, police reports, recorded witness interviews, and material related to Epstein's use of New Mexico public lands, and specifically requested that they be notified should the federal investigation reveal additional survivors of crimes occurring in New Mexico. And that never came. That notification never came. And so this criminal investigation, they say, is once again active and ongoing. And the United States Department of Justice continued withholding of unredacted records is causing real and escalating harm to the New Mexico Department of Justice criminal investigation. He makes this letter public to publicly put on notice that Trump's Department of Justice is stopping New Mexico from getting to the truth of what happened with Epstein and the co-conspirators and what happened to the victims in Zorro Ranch. Of course, the Department of Justice isn't only hindering New Mexico's criminal investigation. They are hindering the release of the records as required by law under the Epstein Transparency Act. The House Oversight Committee's investigation seems to be more of a stall tactic than nothing else. And of course, Katie Fang, the MeidasTouch, had to file her own lawsuit. And the judge ordered Todd Blanche to release the documents there. And of course, he hasn't. Take a listen to Katie Fang and Ben Meiselas discuss that lawsuit. I mean, the Department of Justice at every step is hindering investigations into Epstein and his co-conspirators.
Contemporaneously with the rollout of these files, it was supposed to identify the grounds underneath this law as to why they were withholding or redacting certain bits of information. The DOJ wiped his ass with it, Ben, and did not produce that at all. Judge Sullivan said, you better do it and start it now. If not, there's going to be consequences. I mean, this is a big deal, Ben. This judge says I have informational harm and economic harm. But you know what the best part about this order is? It says that Blanche must produce, quote, to the public, not to just Miss Fang, but to the public. And this is why I brought this lawsuit in the beginning. We needed this transparency as the American public, and we had to force the DOJ to have to do this.
Let's talk about the standing piece of this first, because to me, that's big. One of the things that the Trump regime had been arguing is that the Epstein Transparency Act was an unenforceable law, that no one had standing because the law itself didn't specifically say this person or that person could sue. Talk to us about, because that was a big deal. I recall when Ro Khanna and Massey sought to involve themselves in a case, that was a big argument that and they were raising it here as well, I understand.
Yeah. And listen, if you'll recall, and thank you for reminding everybody. So Ro Khanna and Tom Massey went to the federal judge in the Southern District of New York, who's been presiding over the Ghislaine Maxwell case. And they said, look, we want you to intervene and appoint a special master. And the judge was like, look, man, you just don't have the standing to do this. And that is a big part of what my lawsuit is. I am seeking the appointment of a special master. And again, that's the bigger kind of lawsuit that's being pursued right now. But when it comes to standing, I'll read the language, Ben, from this 48-page order. The court concludes that Ms. Fang satisfies the first part of the standing test. On her interpretation of the Epstein Act, it requires the information to be disclosed to her as a part of the public at large. She suffers the type of harm that Congress sought to prevent in enacting the act.
Thankfully, Trump doesn't have oversight over the New Mexico criminal process, and the attorney general there seems to be serious about trying to get to the bottom and trying to get justice for the victims there. Be sure to subscribe to the MeidasTouch YouTube channel if you haven't already. We'll definitely keep you updated on these many developments, and find the Mistrial audio podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. That really helps support my podcast. And check out the Mistrial sponsors. So grateful for our sponsors because they never censor what I have to say, which is so critical in this moment.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.